The challenge in putting this site together was coming up with a quick description, kind of like a mission statement, in the line of just do it. So I played with a couple of taglines, art with attitude, uh, coming in hot, playing off my name. And where they sounded catchy or cute, they really didn't embody what I was trying to tell. So I had to do a little bit of soul searching, and I took it back to my upbringing, and I thought of the environment and the world in which I lived in. And today everything is just really a mess in comparison. I think the advent of video has really just brought to light a lot of the wrongs and atrocities being committed. They were being committed back then as well in regards to my youth, but it wasn't on full blast. So, I'm like a post-civil rights baby, and there was a time when there was a resurgence or an awakening to black pride and black personage, opposed to the imagery that was portrayed prior to the civil rights. The message that I was, kind of raised with was black is beautiful. And it was a very prideful and loving environment that I grew up in, very, very uplifting in spite of all the craziness going on around us. And I would say now, as much as I don't like to be categorized, most artists don't. I think at a glance you would look at my art and say, oh, it's black art. But it's really art that I've come to realize is a celebration of culture, life, and pride. And these are attributes that are not indigenous to one group of people. So if you can get to that, you could get to Sid Blaize Gallery. I've been asked in the past, do I do art that portrays black suffering? And I don't. It's just something that, because for me, art is very therapeutic. Not that I need, someone to calm me down or to talk me out of rage, but when I'm creating art, I'm in a very tranquil, peaceful mindset, so to speak. And to portray us as victims or to hearken on that period or time where we are going through hell, which is, in many ways still going on, that just puts me in an angry state of mind. It would defeat the purpose of creating any type of art that would embody, again, my vibe or my intent to portray us in a beautiful and prideful manner. Not that I'm above doing social conscious work, I have in the past, but none of it's on this site, because to me, that's not art that I would really want to hang up, portraying, again, the pain that we've been through as a people. As I stated before, I'm really not into labeling. For the majority of my work, the focus has an African American aesthetic to it, but it's not art that I would define as black art. To me, art is art, and I think that's how most artists like to view or have their work either experienced or witnessed, and that even goes for other genres like music and theater. Art is art. But again, we live in a society that's very much into labeling. Once you bag and tag it, you don't have to think anymore. The brain shuts down. You then put that person or group into its cubbyhole, and you don't really think anymore. You don't get to realize that, well, someone could have a political affiliation but still think a particular way, like someone who's a conservative can believe in Black Lives Matter. Someone who's a liberal can believe in, capitalism. These are not things that, that are so monolithic that once you have this label on you, will automatically you think a particular way. Well, that's the same way with art. I don't like to I don't like to categorize my art for that reason. Yes, we live in the world of zero attention span. So you have like a very short time, or as they call it, the elevator pitch, to sell what you're trying to get across to the public. So again, it comes back to being asked. It comes back to the question of, how do you describe your art? Well, aside from it being a celebration of life, culture, and pride, it's basically my insight or my opinions, my humor, my likes, all these personal things that come together. That's why there's in the menu there's various topics. There's humor, there's motivational, there's parody, there's fantasy, there's sports, there's music. I have I have music and I have hip hop, because to me hip hop as a genre went way beyond music. It went into attitude, it went into fashion. It just covered so much that it really deserved its own place. And all these things come together, and that's why, again, when you try to categorize art, I feel that that's very it's just limited. There was a group that I loved as a kid, growing up, and the name was Mandrill. Ape is High, Get It All, and one of my favorite jams is Fence Walk, that actually featured a guitar solo backed with horns. I mean, no other group did this type of stuff. They were a multi-ethnic group in the vein of Sly and the Family Stone, except unlike Sly or any other group, they just had an eclectic sound. They were able to fuse jazz, rhythm and blues, rock. They went down to New Orleans and spent some time there, and they produced an album, Mandrill. They just had a whole Louisiana, New Orleans feel to it. They were just a kick-ass group, but they defied being categorized. That might have hindered their fame and success, although, among, music lovers, especially during that time in the, mid 70s and early 80s, who knew very much of Mandrill, they were they defied being labeled, and I think that kind of persona kind of stuck with me as well. As far as the art that I create, again, people look at it and at a quick glance they'll say, "Oh, it's black art," but there's a lot of art that I do that is not focused on the black aesthetic, which I don't have to apologize for. In fact, I like to do imagery that is not so direct, that you could look at it and see what's going on, but then you really don't know what's going on. And that is for you to really finish, because as an artist, I don't have the luxury to be able to explain to everybody what my mindset was when I was creating a particular piece of art. It's kind of like the Mona Lisa. Everybody looks at that painting and they get something out of it different than someone else, because they see something in her expression, and they really have to continue the story, and it involves you as the viewer to make you become part of this experience. And that's probably why it's the most famous painting of all time. So I kind of keep that in mind when I do art. Not every piece of art I do is open to that, open to interpretation. Some things are more direct, especially if I do an individual or an icon or something. But occasionally I'll do a piece where you look at it and you're kind of like, well, you ask yourself, well, what's going on? That's up to you to answer. And I think that's just the beauty of art. How two people could look at a piece of art or listen to music or read a poem or anything of that nature, and they get something out of it different than someone else. And the artist could really just close the door and say, look, this is what I meant. But many times the artist doesn't do that they leave it open. And again, I love that about being an artist. They say when you get into a business that you want to offer something that another business or your competitors don't. And when I'm looking at other art galleries and I see what's on there, A lot of the art is either scenic or abstract. You know, these are the the headings under contemporary art. My art is different. It has a look to it that is it has an editorial look to it, which isn't bad because I've seen people there's art that people will hang up magazine covers and album covers and things of that nature that either have text or again have an editorial message to it. So that doesn't really bother me. But it's art that I think does have a presence, and it is striking. I've been told that many times. Your art is beautiful. It's striking. Oh my goodness. So if you like that type of art, then this is the place to be. So when I initially launched the site, it was called Blaize Vision Gallery. And after, about a month or so, trying the different tags, as I mentioned before, coming in hot, art with attitude, I wanted to revamp the site because I just wasn't feeling it. And I also put it on a new platform, as in Shopify. So to do that, I had to enlist of a design company to hook up the site. And we're going back and forth with names. He says, well, why don't you just call it Sid Blaize Gallery? So that's how that came into being. With that being said, it points out that all the art on this site is produced by me. And it dates back, in some cases, almost 3 decades as far as the inspiration and the work produced. Many of the designs I had to kind of update because, or should I say the concepts I had to update because, I've improved over the years, skill-wise. And of course, these designs are also being shown on a larger scale, whereas many of the designs, or some of them at least, are from my clothing line, Give Me Face, which ran from about 2000 to 2008, and it was at the height of the urban street clothing lines, and it was fun to do. I just did a lot of work. That was probably the body of work which really represents my sensibilities. I started to write poetry, to go along with the shirts to kind of give it a rap kind of feel. And some of them are actually pretty decent, So, and again, they're featured on the site. Blessed, Thug Love, those are 2 of my favorites. And there's just so much going on, and just as far as the versatility of what's going on in this gallery, that I really, I don't want to say suggest, but I invite people to really just take the time and look through the art, because you're going to see something that's going to make you say, wow. A lot of times, we're in this high speed, zero attention span world, and we really don't, sit to smell the flowers. But in this case, it's definitely a different art experience. And I welcome you. I welcome anyone who has come to the site. One of the features of the site is that all the artwork, all the printed artwork, comes in 3 variants. And that's canvas wraps, frame prints, and posters. And they come in different sizes, of course. So, regardless your budget, there's more than enough there to work with. All you have to do is jump in and check out what we have, and I'm sure you'll find something that you'll like. If not, you'll find something that someone else will like. Art is a beautiful gift. It's a gift that lasts, longer than most. And, that's the beauty of art.